Leslie and Sister Stephane sent a poem to be read. A prayer for my sister, a letter from heaven. When tomorrow starts without me, and I am not there to see, if the sun should rise and find our eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you would not cry the way you did today. While thinking of the many things we didn't get to say, I know how much you love me as much as I love you. And each time you think of me, I know you will miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by the hand and said my place was ready in heaven far above, and that I'd have to leave behind all those I dearly love. But as I turned to walk away, a tear fell from my eye. For all life, I'd always thought I didn't want to die. I had so much to live for and so much yet to do. It seemed almost impossible that I was leaving you. If I could relive yesterday, I thought, just for a while, I'd say goodbye and kiss you and maybe see you smile. But then I fully realized that this could never be, for emptiness and memories would take the place of me. But when I walked through heaven's gates, I felt so much at home. You said, this is eternity, and all I promised you. Today for life on earth is past, but here it starts anew. So when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Love you forever, Steph.
Leslie Ann Curtin was born on a beautiful summer day in the southern hemisphere, January the 11th, 1957. Coming into the world while her father Noel and her mother Patricia were stationed in Zambia, Leslie Ann was born in Ndola, Zambia, on the continent of Africa. Her father Noel was financial manager for Atlas Copco, a compressor manufacturing company that provided the fuels for the mining industry in Zambia. The oldest child to be born to this South African family, Leslie Ann was quickly followed by her brother Gary and her sister Stephane. When Leslie was 11 years old, her family moved back to South Africa in a town about 30 miles east of Johannesburg named Benoni. It was in Benoni that Leslie finished her elementary and junior high education. When it came for high school, Leslie Ann chose a boarding school about 100 miles from her home in Warmbach called Settlers High School. There she majored in domestic science, where she gained the skills to complement her gifts of hospitality. A very gifted athlete and scholar, Leslie Ann enjoyed the sport of competitive swimming and graduated early at the age of 17. Noting that she also had a gift of teaching, Leslie continued her education back near her home at the Johannesburg College of Education, earning her degree in elementary education. Upon graduation, Leslie Ann taught elementary students for several years, and I understand that she was so gifted that the parents would fight over having their students in her class. I am sure that this was true, because soon the corporate world tapped her skills, and she became a corporate trainer. Soon Leslie was managing the training of Avis Rent-A-Car throughout the whole nation of South Africa. It was at this phase in her life that her mother, and the mother of a young man just returning from the service and making a name for himself in the architectural world, the two mothers decided to set up their children. As you can imagine, neither of these modern young people were fans of their plans. But relenting, Cobus decided to invite the daughter of his mother's friend to a barbecue at their house. Although neither claimed it was love at first sight, I think just to keep their parents at bay, it was certainly infatuation and rapport at first sight. having found their soulmate. Cobus and Leslie Ann were married about a year later, on October the 25th, 1985. A 28-year marriage. That would be a tremendous blessing in both of their lives. Deciding to spread their wings and look to the larger world, before they were married, Cobus and Leslie Ann decided to immigrate to the North American continent. Their first choice was Toronto, Canada. Traveling before Leslie and getting a job and a place to live, Cobus then came back for his fiancée, and 3 days before he left, to go back to Toronto, they were married, and Leslie Ann followed 6 weeks later. While in Toronto, Leslie once more used her excellence in training and became the training manager of the Insurance Bureau of Canada. But as everyone here knows, Toronto is very cold. And wisely, in 1991, they decided to make a transition to Southern California. Again going first, Cobus came and Leslie Ann followed, and they moved to Los Angeles and began their lives as Californians. But in those early years in LA, Leslie would go with Cobus on business trips to the UC Santa Barbara campus, and she fell in love with our city. And so, reversing the roles this time, it was Leslie Ann that brought Cobus to the Mesa, where in 1995, they became a part of our larger community and our own church family. They joined us here as vital members of our family, and they are deeply embedded in our hearts. Cobus and Leslie Ann engaged in every way you can to be a part of the family of God. One of the early ministries that they did was they started our tape ministry, making hundreds of tapes to allow the sermons to be heard. Although Leslie Ann took a part-time job at Talbot's, mainly for the employee discount. And to compliment, of course, her beautiful style. Leslie primarily shared her life with all of us. A deep lover of animals. And we have to have ours here today. Leslie Ann soon longed for more garden and more outdoor space. And in 2003, they purchased a beautiful home on a Bel Air Knolls hillside and began cultivating such a beautiful garden that hundreds of hummingbirds adopted them as their family. Using her two gifts of hospitality and education, Leslie collected over 1,000 teacups and saucers, and then taught us all how to enjoy a wonderful tea. She and others would create delicious teas together as they shared friendship and love in the elegance of her hospitable events. Having grown up Catholic, and then joining Cobus in their growing faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, Leslie and Cobus were members of Christ Church Deer Park in Toronto, Hollywood Presbyterian with Lloyd Ogilvie in Los Angeles, and for almost 20 years they were members here at Free Methodist. It was here, Cobus explains, that their faith became more vibrant and central to their maturing walk with God, something we all saw and we all shared. Leslie loved to travel, and just in the last 2 years went with us on a cruise to Alaska and with her family to the Canadian Rockies. Words fail us, of course, to describe a person like Leslie Ann Malan. She's joyful and passionate, loving, sensitive, faithful, spiritual, hospitable. She loved her Lord dearly, and she loved life completely. She lived a happy and a caring and a fulfilling life. But of course you all know that. And so we want to open the service for you to come and to share a memory or an experience briefly, or a thought of giving tribute or honor to Leslie Ann. We've asked Pastor Colleen to come again and to begin this sharing time. And she's going to share a brief letter from Cobus' sister Renee, and then her own sharing. As she's seated, I encourage others to come forward. Come to